I heard the words, and the world just stopped spinning. I was on the couch, half watching a rerun, when I picked up my phone to send Dad a quick text about picking up milk on his way home. That's when I saw it. The call was still active. I hadn't even called him. He must have pocket-dialed me right after we talked earlier, and the phone was pressed against his ear, or maybe speakerphone was on. All I heard at first was the usual background hum, then Mom's voice, a little too cheerful, a little too loud. And then came the phrase that still echoes in my nightmares. Asterisk, asterisk, that old man won't last a day after our Thanksgiving surprise. Asterisk, asterisk, I froze, every muscle in my body locking up. Asterisk, the old man. Asterisk, they meant Grandpa, Dad's father. My Grandpa Elias. I heard a dry chuckle from Dad, a sound I suddenly didn't recognize, and then the chilling confirmation from my mother. Asterisk, asterisk, the mansion will be ours. Asterisk, asterisk. It was like a scene from a bad movie, only it was real, and the people planning to steal. Or, worse, were my parents. I want you to honestly tell me, right now, before you hear the rest of it, asterisk, asterisk, was I wrong to betray my own parents to protect my grandfather? Asterisk, asterisk. Keep that question in your mind as I tell you how 5 days turned into the most terrifying, secretive, and manipulative time of my life. The story really begins not with that phone call, but years before, with the inheritance. Grandpa Elias isn't just times a times grandfather. He's times the times grandfather. He built a real estate empire from the ground up, the kind of wealth you only read about. His primary residence was this sprawling, gorgeous, almost historical mansion nestled on several acres, the very mansion Mom spoke of. Everyone in the family knew the asterisk asterisk while asterisk asterisk was locked down. Grandpa had made it clear, years ago, that the mansion and the lion's share of his estate would be split equally between his two children, my father, Michael, and my Aunt Vivian. Aunt Vivian is great, by the way. She's a painter, eccentric, lives in a cozy little cottage near the coast, and frankly, she couldn't care less about the money. She's always been about the art, the quiet life. But my parents? They were obsessed. My father, Michael, was always the black sheep, the one who constantly needed bailing out from one failed business venture after another. He took a job at Grandpa's company but spent more time eyeing the executive parking spots than doing any real work. My mother, Sarah, was the engine behind his ambition, a woman whose entire personality seemed to be constructed around acquiring and showcasing luxury. She had an almost pathological need to be the matriarch of the mansion, to host those big, flashy parties. They'd been living beyond their means for decades, constantly borrowing against Dad's future inheritance, and they were deeply, desperately in debt. I'm talking about bank warnings, angry calls, the whole shebang. They'd tried to keep it a secret from me, their only child, but when you live in the Braddock, same house, you pick up on the hushed, angry whispers late at night. They had this desperation in their eyes that had started to frighten me. Grandpa Elias, on the other hand, was the kindest, wisest man I knew. He's in his late 70s, sharp as a tack, but he'd been dealing with some heart issues recently. He had a minor scare a few months ago, a little flutter, but he was back to his daily walks and reading his financial papers by the fireplace. Asterisk, asterisk, Thanksgiving, asterisk, asterisk was the family gathering every year. And this year, it was at Grandpa's mansion. As always, it was just 5 days away. The thought of them planning something times for times Thanksgiving, something that would ensure he wouldn't last a day, sent a cold wave of dread through me. I stayed perfectly still, clutching the phone, listening. The background noise faded, and their voices became clearer. Mom was talking about a special gravy. Dad laughed again, that awful, dry sound, and said, "Shepard said it's untraceable. Just a small dose in his pre-dinner sherry, or maybe just a lot in the gravy. He hates Aunt Vivian's dry turkey, he'll drown it in gravy." I didn't know who Shepard was, but I didn't need to. The plan was clear. They were going to poison Grandpa Elias at the Thanksgiving dinner. The surprise wasn't a party, it was murder. I felt a surge of nausea, a dizzying spin that made the room tilt. These were my parents, the people who tucked me in, helped with my college applications, celebrated my birthdays. But the people talking on the other end of the line were strangers, too cold, calculating predators whose greed had consumed their humanity. They weren't just plotting a crime, they were destroying the only solid, loving figure I had left my grandfather. I quietly and carefully pressed the end call button. My hand was shaking so badly that it took 3 attempts. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there for what felt like an hour, staring at the blank screen, trying to reconcile the smiling faces in my childhood photos with the monsters I had just heard. Should I confront them? No. If I confronted them, they'd deny it, and worse, they'd execute their plan immediately, or disappear. I needed proof, and I needed to keep Grandpa safe. My mind raced through the terrible possibilities, calling the police directly. On what evidence? A pocket-dialed conversation where they used veiled language? They'd be out on bail before the night was over, and I'd be public enemy number 1, labeled a delusional, ungrateful child, and the threat to Grandpa would remain. No, I had to be smarter, quieter, and just as manipulative as they were. This was a game of chess and I had to make the first move. I took a deep, shuddering breath, my resolve hardening into a cold, unbreakable steel. I opened my phone again. I didn't dial the police. I dialed a number I hadn't called in months, Aunt Vivian's ***. I kept the conversation vague at first, talking about Thanksgiving plans, mentioning how excited I was. I needed to gauge if she knew anything. If she was somehow involved, however unlikely. She sounded perfectly normal, complaining about the difficulty of finding a good organic turkey. Then I dropped the bomb, indirectly. I told her I had a terrible feeling about this year. A premonition, a sudden, irrational anxiety about Grandpa's health. I asked her to do me a massive favor. Aunt V, can you please call Grandpa and tell him you're worried about his heart, and that you insist, absolutely insist. He brings his personal nurse, Agnes to Thanksgiving dinner? Not just for a quick checkup, but to stay, just in case. Tell him it's for your peace of mind. Agnes was Grandpa's retired private nurse who had become a very close friend and occasional medical companion. Aunt Vivian, being the caring soul she is, instantly agreed, attributing my fear to my sensitive nature but promising to call him right away. This was my first layer of defense. Agnes, a qualified, loyal witness, someone who would notice anything suspicious, especially if it was related to his health or his food. The next few days were pure hell. I had to act completely normal. I smiled, I did my chores, I listened to my mother plan the menu, praising her choices including the infamous gravy, It was like living with 2 very charming, very dangerous snakes. Every time they looked at me, I felt a tremor of revulsion, but I kept my face blank, my voice steady. I even offered to help with the Thanksgiving preparations. I wanted to see the poisoned item to confirm their plan. But they kept everything under lock and key, including the ingredients for the special gravy, and Mom even joked about my clumsy hands not being allowed near the main course. I wasn't getting closer to the proof. I needed more. That's when I devised the real plan. It required the ultimate betrayal, one I still struggle to justify, but I knew it was the only way to save Grandpa. So that's the situation I was in. I was a child, standing between my beloved grandfather and 2 desperate, murderous parents. I had planted the seed with Aunt Vivian to bring Agnes, but that was just a preventative measure. It wouldn't stop the crime, it would only delay or expose it after the fact. I needed to stop at times before times it happened, and I needed proof that would stick, not just a vague accusation. I was completely alone, having to choose between the family who raised me and the man who defined what a good person was. Before I tell you what happened next, the final, elaborate trap I set, I want you to pause this video and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have gone straight to the police, risking everything? Or would you have played their game, fighting fire with fire, as I was about to do? Let me know. Okay, here's what I did. The day before Thanksgiving, my parents were out running last-minute errands, likely meeting with Shepard or sorting out the final details. I knew they kept a spare key to their secure home office, where they handled all their sensitive financial documents, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on the main bookshelf. I got the key and let myself in. The room was immaculate, but their desperation was evident everywhere. I found a small, unmarked box hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Inside, there were several damning items. A packet of white, crystalline powder, meticulously sealed, along with a printed label for high-potency food additive, not for human consumption. Then I found a series of email printouts, conversations between my dad and a contact named Dr. S, detailing the purchase of a potent, untraceable poison designed to mimic the symptoms of a severe cardiac episode. The timing of the instructions and the dose confirmed the Thanksgiving surprise. Asterisk, asterisk, this was the proof. Asterisk, asterisk, but revealing it prematurely would still be dangerous. I had to use it to set the stage. I took the most incriminating email printout, tucked it safely away, and left everything else as it was. I then put the spare key back and went back to pretending to be a normal, nervous kid waiting for the holidays. The next morning, Thanksgiving Day, everything was a whirlwind of preparation. The air was thick with the scent of roasting turkey and, for me, a suffocating tension. I watched them, my parents, moving around the kitchen, and it was surreal. They were smiling, joking, setting the silverware. It was the face of normalcy over a gaping abyss of malice. Mom finally finished the gravy, a large silver tureen filled with a dark, rich, and utterly toxic sauce. She placed it carefully in the warming oven. The waiting was agony. Grandpa Elias arrived precisely at 2 p.m. But, as I had planned with Aunt Vivian, he wasn't alone. He walked through the door, beaming, and right beside him was asterisk, asterisk, Agnes, asterisk, asterisk, his nurse, carrying a small, professional medical bag. Instant masks of polite surprise. Agnes, what a pleasant surprise, Mom chirped, but her eyes held a flicker of pure, icy fury. Aunt Vivian was right behind them, all innocence, saying, "Oh, I was just so worried about Dad's little heart flutter, I insisted Agnes come along. You know, just for peace of mind." Dinner was served at 4 p.m. The table was set for 8 Grandpa, Aunt Vivian, Agnes, a couple of close family friends, and my parents and me. The atmosphere was a strained, brittle cheer. My parents were exchanging tense glances. The gravy tureen was placed on the table, shimmering darkly under the chandelier. Grandpa, oblivious, was already reaching for a spoonful, and that's when I made my move. It was now or never. I cleared my throat, louder than necessary. Asterisk, asterisk. Dad. Asterisk, asterisk, I said, my voice shaking only slightly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Before we start, I just wanted to say something. I'm so thankful for all of you, for our family, and I'm especially thankful that Agnes is here today. I paused, my eyes locking onto my father's. His face was starting to look strangely pale. I'm thankful, I continued, that someone will be here to notice if Grandpa has another heart episode. You know, I read an interesting article the other day about asterisk asterisk digitalis poisoning asterisk asterisk. It said that it's so hard to detect because it perfectly mimics a sudden, severe heart attack, especially in older people. My mother dropped her fork. It clattered loudly on the porcelain plate. My father's color was completely gone. He looked like a ghost. He tried to interrupt me, his voice a ragged whisper. What are you talking about? Stop this nonsense. I ignored him, keeping my eyes on Grandpa. And I read that a simple, untraceable dose could be hidden in something like, oh, I don't know. Asterisk, asterisk, gravy, asterisk, asterisk. Mom bolted upright. Asterisk, asterisk, that's enough. Get to your room, right now. Asterisk, asterisk, she shrieked, her mask finally shattering into 1,000 pieces. I didn't move. I simply reached into my pocket, pulled out the crumpled email printout I had taken from the office, and slid it across the table toward Agnes and Grandpa. Grandpa, Agnes, I said, my voice now perfectly steady. I think you need to read this. The silence in the dining room was absolute, a heavy, suffocating blanket. Grandpa picked up the paper, his hand surprisingly steady. Agnes leaned in beside him, her professional demeanor instantly kicking in. As they read the email, a terrible realization dawned on Aunt Vivian and the other guests. My father was on his feet, stumbling toward me, but Grandpa put up a hand, a silent, powerful command that froze him in his tracks. My father, the ambitious son, stood trapped in the wreckage of his own evil plan. Agnes, ever the professional, looked at the tureen of gravy, then at my mother's ashen face. She nodded once, firmly. Asterisk, asterisk, I suggest no one touch this gravy. Asterisk, asterisk, she announced, her voice calm and authoritative. And I think a phone call needs to be made. My parents' faces didn't just turn pale. They became landscapes of terror and defeat. They were caught. The mansion, the wealth, the years of planning, it had all crumbled because of one little pocket dial and the quick, terrifying decision of their own child. They tried to deny it, of course, their pleas and lies a desperate, pathetic cacophony, but the email and the poisoned food later confirmed by the swift arrival of the authorities were undeniable. The aftermath was a nightmare of police, statements, and bewildered, weeping family friends. Grandpa, heartbroken but alive, hugged me tighter than he ever had before. He knew what a terrifying choice I had made. My parents were arrested that night. The next day, the headlines were everywhere. Heir parents busted in Thanksgiving poison plot. It ruined their lives, their reputations, and their freedom. They were convicted and sent to prison, their greed having cost them everything. Grandpa Elias, after the initial shock, recovered with remarkable resilience. He completely rewrote his will, removing my father, Michael, and my mother, Sarah, from everything. Aunt Vivian, though still not interested in the wealth, received the estate and ensured a comfortable life for Grandpa. As for me, Grandpa set up a massive trust in my name, calling me his savior and his only true family. I'm trying to move on. It's a strange, lonely kind of peace. I saved a life, but I lost my parents to their own demons. I learned that sometimes the hardest choice is the one that saves you, even if it feels like a terrible betrayal. It's a wound that will never truly heal, but I look at Grandpa, healthy and happy, and I know I did the right thing. So that's the whole terrible story. I hope you never have to make a choice like that. Asterisk, asterisk. Like this video if you were on my side and think I made the only moral choice. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Subscribe for more stories like this. Asterisk, asterisk. Sometimes the real-life drama is stranger and darker than anything in fiction. And please, asterisk, asterisk, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Asterisk, asterisk. Tell me what you think will happen to my parents now. I'll see you all in the next story.